What's going on, everybody? Scott here, and today I'm going to be talking about We Happy Few, the new survival game by Compulsion Games, which is available in early access on PC and Xbox One. So if you ever wondered what it would be like if George Orwell wrote 1984 after playing BioShock Infinite while high as a kite on mind-altering drugs, if you have, then this is probably the game for you. It's set in an alternate reality 1960s England, where all of the inhabitants take a drug called joy. And this drug, it makes them permanently happy, as well as erases any bad memories that they may have prior to their, consumption of joy. So if you're not taking your joy, then you're considered a downer, and all of the people around you will notice this, and they will not be too kind, to say the least. While it is a story-driven game, the early access version has all aspects of the story, besides a quick intro to kind of give you like an idea of what's going on, what buttons to press and stuff like that, removed. Apparently over the next year, the developers will be finishing up the game to include a story mode for 3 separate main characters, and all of the stories intertwine. So the devs don't want to ruin anything in the final product by releasing part of the story in the early access version. So that basically leaves us with a pretty hashed out open world survival game, which contains procedurally generated environments as well as challenges that can change depending on the playthrough that you're doing. Before I start, for full transparency, I was given the game during the closed beta a little over a year ago, and it unlocked the early access version as well when it went live. It doesn't mean it's a sponsored video, and everything I say is my opinion based on the 11 hours of playtime that I have currently. So let's get into it and go over the good, the bad, and the ugly in this early access version of We Happy Few. To start off, the good. Right off the bat, the first thing I think anyone would notice is the gorgeous setting of the game. The vibrant colors of the vegetation set against the brown and grays of the blown-out buildings of post-war Wellington Wells, or the disheveled homes with cryptic writing on the wall hinting at pre-joy memories, and that's before you even get over across the bridge to the hamlet filled with bright 60s psychedelia-tinged cities where joy flows like a river. Now, regardless of what I say after this, I don't think it can be argued that the game looks great, and the fact that it's on Unreal Engine 4 probably has something to do with it. So if you follow my channel for a while, you know that I was extremely hyped up for this game due to the art style and the 1960s England meets Fallout dystopia aesthetic. But when I first started playing the closed beta, I was pretty disappointed after the initial hype wore off, simply due to the fact that it was basically a survival game, a genre which I'm not a big fan of. While it's still basically a survival game, they've added these mini challenges throughout the map to give some type of objective besides eat, sleep, and blend in with the wellies so they don't beat you to death. And I'm pretty happy about it. The challenges aren't anything magnificent, just the basic run-of-the-mill, go fetch this, or give this guy some drugs so he stops puking from food poisoning. But coming from the closed beta, it's definitely improvement as well as a time killer due to the wonky map, which I'll talk about in the ugly section. I honestly never thought I'd have as much fun as I did from basically just running around, stopping to regain stamina, and then running around some more. But a word of caution, the game does have permadeath, so if you plan on being reckless during your challenges, make sure you turn that option off. It'll save you the headache once you collapse and die from chasing crazy legs with no cares given to your health meter. Another thing about this game that I did not expect at all, just due to the underlying gloom, it's filled with so much humor. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the NPCs' voice lines are downright gibberish and they borderline on cringy, but every now and then you'll find yourself smirking from something they say. Now, the highlight of the humor has to come from the antagonist, Uncle Jack. Now, he's the voice that you hear over the radio and the TV. You'll see his weird, creepy-looking live-action face on all the TVs throughout the city, and it's apparent he is not a fan of the downers by his little quips and jokes. But if you take a minute or two to sit down in front of the old boob tube and just see what Jack says, I guarantee you will smirk at least a few times. And then finally, for the good, one of my favorite parts of the game so far is the lore, which is scattered throughout the town in form of written notes as well as the dialogue that NPCs will say in the game. Now, in the beta there were these old war posters plastered all over the walls around the city, which shed some light on the story, but it seems that they've been taken down for the most part. And basically, just to catch you up, the Germans took England during World War II, and Wellington Wells broke away on their own, doing a very bad thing, in air quotes, which you can't see. It was so bad, in fact, and they felt so guilty, but they created joy to make them forget what they did, as well as be happy all the time. Now, I don't know about you, but I cannot wait to find out exactly what they did in order to save the city, and I'm assuming that that will be in the final product. Compulsion, that better be in the final product. Okay, so on to the bad. Now, as soon as you turn on the game, there's a full screen warning that the game is in early access and there are probably a few bugs and glitches. And as with most early access games, this is to be expected, and I haven't run into anything that has been rage-inducing or game-breaking, but definitely a few things that need to be mentioned. The first that comes to mind is a bug that stops you from completing a challenge after you've started it, unless you save and restart the game, which is kind of a pain. So an example of this is in the very beginning of the safe house. You have an unexpected guest in your lair, which you must help move out by picking them up, but no button would appear for me to do so. So I initially picked them up and I placed them down just because I wasn't sure where to put them, and then when I would try to go back again, the button was completely gone, giving me the option to pick them up. I did run into this on 3 separate challenges. Even though it's not as bad as it could be, it is pretty obnoxious to be at a specific place on the map, only to have to restart, run back there, because the game wasn't working properly. Another thing is the combat system. It's very bare bones. You can block and punch or swing a weapon, and there are a few different types of weapons besides just melee, which is pretty cool, but I haven't really needed to use them due to the fact that I can just pulverize my attackers with a tree branch, and if there are too many, I can run away. It's not broken by any means, it's just very elementary from what I've seen so far. Another gripe that I have with the game is that the NPCs all look like they're slightly different versions of each other. Like there are 3 to 4 different NPCs that are just thrown about the town. They each have a different name and they pop up when you talk to them. I could just be seeing the same person over and over, and I'm kind of hoping that there is a bit more variety once the final version comes out. I do have faith in them, since when the game was out in closed beta, each person was exactly the same. You had a male and a female, and they were the same. So just from last year, it's been leaps and bounds as far as the NPCs. Hopefully we will see more in the final version. So finally, we get to the ugly, and I only have one major gripe with this game, and it's all map related. It is everything a map should have: a legend, a way to zoom in and out, important locations marked so you can find places you've previously visited in a jiffy. It just doesn't work right. The world starts to populate on a map once you've visited an area for the first time, which is cool. I just can't move my cursor to the locations that I want to go. It's like the pointer stops halfway through the map and freezes like 40% of the time. And I know it's a bug, since the other 60% of the time I can fly my cursor around on the map and locate what I need to until my heart's content. Is it a big deal? No, but it annoys the hell out of me. And the final issue I have, and it's something that it bugs me, but I don't know if it would actually bother anybody else. I'm just not a huge fan of the survival genre, so I don't really like doing this, but there are no tips or indicators to tell you where you need to go. Like if you have a mission where somebody wants you to go fetch something, it doesn't really tell you where you need to go fetch it. You kind of just have to figure it out on your own. And I don't necessarily need the game to hold my hand and walk me through the challenges, but a hint system or something like that would be helpful just to save time. And I get that it's a game about scavenging, but if I need to find a shovel for a challenge or like a power battery, I should at least have an idea where to look instead of just blindly running around for stuff, on top of blindly running around looking for stuff to survive. I know it's not a big deal, but it's ugly for me, so I'm throwing it in there. So to wrap it up, We Happy Few is more good than bad or ugly for me. I would have purchased this day one due to my hype on the game, and I don't think I would have been disappointed. After playing only 5 hours of it over the past year in the closed beta, just due to the extreme survival aspect of it and not much else, I've really enjoyed playing, and I've put 6 hours into this new iteration of the game in just 2 nights thanks to the addition of the challenges. Replayability seems to be there just due to the fact that the challenges are procedurally generated, the items that you need to find will be someplace else the next game you start, and things like that if you plan on playing it over and over. But I'm not sure how long it takes to beat the game, because I'm clearing out the challenges before moving on to the next part of the map. And in the current state, I'd suggest it if you have the disposable income, you like what you see, or you're a big fan of the survival genre, and running. You gotta be a fan of running, lots and lots of running. Ultimately, I'm never fully comfortable recommending an early access title, thanks to the Stomping Land, but the developers release a weekly blog stating what they're working on, and you can always follow that if you're on the fence, or just wait until the full game comes out and is completely finished. I'll also put a link to my old alpha gameplay videos in the description box if you're curious, just to see how far the game has come. And that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button if you did, and subscribe for more We Happy Few in the future. And as always, thank you for watching, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.